Hey, we're back. It's Bronze and Modern Gods. Did you miss us? I'm John,
I'm Richard.
and we are back on a regular schedule again. Thanks everyone for your patience. We had a show last week on YouTube. Apologies to the podcast folks because, and apologies to the YouTube people too, because the audio and the video was not up
Uh,
to our normal standards. Would you say, Richard?
it was basically silhouettes. We could have done like hand puppets and
Someone in the comments said, "Bronze and Modern Gods, what we do in the shadows," which I thought was, but lots of learnings from that. Now we know how to do a live stream properly. So when we do another one, it won't be as bad, hopefully. But hey, you might have missed us on Facebook and Instagram this week if you weren't following us at Bronze and Modern Gods. Richard had a little impromptu live sale.
Mhm. Yep, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I haven't done a live sale since last November, so it was good hanging out with people.
Especially me. I was there too. That's the first time we've ever had a live sale in the same room, isn't it?
That was fun. Yeah, definitely.
If you are watching this video on YouTube, hey, hit like, hit subscribe, help us out, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform for you people on your phones. Before we get started, a reminder, Richard and I will indeed be at Baltimore Comic-Con September 8th, 9th, and 10th, live streaming from the Wacom booth. Wacom, they've been really gracious enough to sponsor this show. Please support Bronze and Modern Gods by downloading Wacom today on the Apple App Store and Google Play. Wacom is great for both comic book and manga readers. You can track what you own, what you've read, what to read next. I see a bunch of you signed on this week and were following me on Wacom. That's another great thing. It's like a social network for comic book readers and collectors. You can see what your friends are reading, what issues they're missing in their want list, and more. Best part is you can try it for free. Go on to Wacom on the Apple App Store and Google Play. Download it. It's WHAKOOM. Follow me on Wacom. I'm at John_Hughes, just like the director of 16 Candles, Richard.
You mean he's just like you? You can follow me at ChronoSave.
And if you download Wacom, you support the show, and we truly appreciate it. And we will see you next month at the Baltimore Comic-Con. Time for our hot book of the week. Richard, I'm going to do this one because I'm so excited. This is the first time ever in the history of this show, 4 years plus, the hot book of the week has been Captain America.
Yeah, go for it.
Captain America #7 from 2019. This is the first team appearance of the Daughters of Liberty, who are Jessica Drew, Sue Storm, Misty Knight, the White Tiger, Annabelle Riggs, who?
Yeah.
Mockingbird, and Echo. Apparently, there are rumors about a Daughters of Liberty project happening at Disney. Buyer beware. Rumors are rumors. Nobody knows for sure. But people are biting because high-grade copies of this are fetching around $15 for a pretty dead book. More importantly, in my opinion, I think, is the second print, which features the Daughters of Liberty right there on the cover. That one is selling for as high as $25. Although, take a look at it, it's a bit of a step down from the first print's beautiful painted Alex Ross cover, don't you think, Richard?
I agree. But you know, the cover appearance is what's selling it here.
Yeah, if there's any opportunity for a J. Scott Campbell variant, this would have been it.
I'm sure he's probably working on it.
So there you go. Captain America, hot book of the week for the first time in this show's history. Well, Richard and I, if you were paying attention last week and you watched this show and you listened the last, I don't know, 2 months, we were at NEO Comic-Con in beautiful green North Olmsted, Ohio. I could not believe how green it was. There were trees and lawns and everything.
Unlike California, we don't have a water drought.
I guess not. Neo Comic Con, great, a well-organized show, I have to say. It was, it looked very smooth. Lots of great dealers. They weren't kidding when they were advertising more than 100 comic book vendors. We met many vendors that we've never seen at other shows. And I think, in my opinion, Richard, plenty of bargains to be had. Dealers willing to actually deal the part in their name.
Right.
What did you think?
I thought it was great. I go every year. This is a show that is kind of the height of the season in this area. So I am always there. So I've made a relationship with a number of the dealers there. Uh, and you're right. Some of them are just great guys, willing to deal. The more you buy, the better your deal, that kind of thing. And I ended up with a stack of stuff I hadn't planned on buying. As a matter of fact, I had dealers who knew I was looking for things walk up and give me a book. I was looking for Love and Rockets #1 for a better print. One of the dealers that was there, Chuck, if you're watching, he personally walked over into our booth and handed me this book. This is the second print of Love and Rockets. The gesture was amazing, and I really, really appreciate it. And great dealers, great deals to be had, and it was just a fun show. I mean, the energy of the show was really high. If anybody thinks the comic book market is slowing down, attend some of these shows. I mean, we still get a lot of people showing up to the shows, and those people spend money. So there's still a market, and I think it's getting healthier every day.
I was shocked at the number of people who walked up to us at the Wacom booth and introduced themselves and said hi. They watched the show and they listened to the show. We're not, A-listers by any means, but it was
C-listers.
no. We're right next to Kathy Griffin there on the D list. But we had people like Barron's Comics on Instagram came all the way from, I believe he said Illinois, 6 hours in the car, and was impressed with the show and wanted to meet us, and plenty of other folks that recognized us, especially Richard and I when we went to booths, and they said, "Oh, we've held this book for you," because we heard
Yeah, you got to meet Gary, the gentleman who we got the Peanuts from.
I got to meet the Peanuts Gary. That's what we ended up calling him. I got to meet him finally. My Peanuts #1 right over here. You guys will never see it leave my cold, dead hands. My heirs will sell it off. But it wouldn't be a Comic-Con report without a Comic-Con report. So let's take a look. Roll that beautiful bean footage. Here with
Tim Hirschberger from Lantern Comics.
Kevin Morton with K-Mort Comics.
And we know Kevin from Instagram Live Sales. This is K-Mort Comics with an X on Instagram. You guys have some cool stuff. You got to show a couple things here. But first, I walked up. Kevin handed me this book and said, "It's not a bondage cover, but it's close." I want this book. It's Jose Luis Garcia, right? Yeah, I love this. Superman's being ridden like a horse. Rode hard, put away wet. I'm in. And you've got a great book, too. Tell everybody what this is.
So this is Friday Foster #1. It's the only one that they printed out. It was #1. They never did a #2. Right. But Friday Foster is the first black female in syndicated comic history. Also, it was eventually made into a movie starring Pam Grier, of course.
At the height of the blaxploitation genre.
Yeah. So it's just a really cool, very rare book. I'm proud to have it in my collection, and this could be yours.
It's absolutely a John and Richard book, if I've ever seen one. Friday Foster, who drew Friday Foster? I know Joe Gill wrote it.
It was Jack Sparling.
Jack Sparling, based on the comic strip. And I believe that's the first comic title as well, to feature an African-American female lead.
Yeah, I think Lobo was the first
with male
black male, yeah.
Right. And let's get a shot of Kevin's shirt, which is amazing. You'll see me wearing mine that he gave me on the podcast.
Go to kmortcomics.com and pick up one today.
Unless you're Disney, don't go there. How's the show been for you guys?
Good.
Been a good show.
Yeah.
I mean,
you guys selling some stuff?
Selling some stuff. What better way to spend a Sunday?
Right.
Comics, books, Celebrities. Got to stroke the ego.
All right, thanks, guys. Good to see you.
Thank you.
And we're here with one of the organizers of NeoCon, Eric Anderson, who also owns a great comic shop called Comics Are Go in Sheffield, Ohio. Eric, tell us about NeoCon.
This is, our 8th year. The only year we started in 2015. The only year we took off was the COVID year.
Understandable.
I've been running it since 2019. We try to bring as many comic books as we can fit into 2 soccer fields. So that's what we've got going on.
It's literally 2 soccer fields with booth after booth after booth of comics and Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time trying to curate what dealers are going to be here, what kind of stuff they bring, how they interact with customers, and we just try to make sure that at the very least we can keep the ticket price low and we can bring a ton of people and hopefully everybody makes money, everybody gets comic books they want.
$5.
$5, yeah.
$5.
I'm pretty firm on that price. I've had a lot of pressure to try to move the price up, and I just think 5 is the right price. Kids 10 and under get in for free. So.
As someone who just got back from San Diego Comic-Con, I can tell you $5 for all these dealers is amazing. How's it been so far, this show?
It's been pretty good so far. I hear it's a little slower in the background right now than it's been all day because they're doing the cosplay contest.
So that always does it.
So that does kind of draw people into that part of the room. Hopefully we get another surge of people buying stuff. That would be really nice. But yeah, so far it's pretty good. It looks like our attendance is right where we need it to be, maybe a little bit better. I don't want to count any chickens before they hatch.
I'll tell you, my first time here, and I was blown away. I think the dealer selection is just on par and comparable to what I saw at San Diego. No lie.
That's awesome to hear. That's what we're shooting for.
You don't have the Harleys or the Metropolises or the big boys, but I don't want the big boys. I want the good stuff. I want the stuff that I can afford.
Yeah, right. And I mean, that's something that I really think about a lot. You know, for my shop, we do sometimes as many as 25 shows a year. And that's partly to sell stuff, obviously, but it's also to curate for this show. So I just kind of go around and I watch the other dealers and I see, are they negotiable, right? I walk around, I buy stuff. I see if they're the kind of person that I'm interested in doing business with, and I figure I try to be really easygoing about everything, and if they're easygoing, then I figure they're a good match for the convention.
Remind everybody where they can find you online.
They can find us online on Facebook at Comics Are Go. We just revamped our website. We should be relaunching that in the next month or so. That's going to be Comics Are Go online. And they can shoot me a message anytime. Yeah, I'm always looking for stuff. We're always buying, we're always selling.
He's got a Blip #1 9.8 newsstand.
If I can only get John, I'm so close. We're so close.
Don't make me do
All
it.
he has to do is make me an offer, and it's his.
$1,500.
Done.
Oh, I just bought a Blip #1 9.8 newsstand for $1,500. We'll see you guys later. I'll show you on the show. Thanks,
Come on
Eric.
next year.
For you podcast listeners, I'm currently kissing my Blip slab, my Blip 9.8 newsstand slab. I love you, Blip.
Now, John has been circling this book for at least 2 years.
Every time I go to Ohio to visit my family and Richard and all my friends, I stop in at Eric's shop, Comics Are Go, and he brings out that Blip. And I've been kicking the tires on that thing for 2 years, and I made an offer to him finally, and he took it. So there it is. He also has a Dark Shadows #1 at 9.0, which is better than my 8. So
that's the next thing to sit there and focus on.
Eric, should I just make you an offer? Let me know. Hey, talk about show and tell, what we got in NeoCon and elsewhere this week. Why don't you start off with yours?
Yeah, I talked about the last show looking for a particular book, Zoot 11, which is a Golden Age book with a gorgeous cover. And I looked every single booth. This is at when we were at SDCC. No one had it. Ariel came up to me and told me it was available on all places, Etsy, and I got it. Here it
Look at
is.
It arrived. It's real. It's not a photocopy.
It's not. It is. It is. It is worn. It's probably. I'm going to clean it, and it's probably a 1.5 because the cover's detached. It's got rusty staples, but it satisfies the itch, that placeholder. It makes me want to, of course, finish the entire series of Zoot. Just some of the artwork that from this era is amazing, and it's transitional. We went from the anatomy becomes more and more realistic as these books came through, and we have a lot to we owe a lot of debt to those artists.
It's complete and everything's there. And you didn't tell you're bearing the lead. What did you pay for that book?
Oh, I paid $45 for it.
Oh my God.
$45. It came in 3 days. And so the long and the short of it is, put Etsy on your list. I have a list of sites that I rotate through. Things that are not eBay, for example, or Amazon even. I've bought books off of Amazon because some dealers put their books up there. Etsy is now in my rotation because it's just amazing that you could find a golden age book of any condition on Etsy.
Did you save the seller? Did you look at the other items they were selling?
Did. The only thing I did not do, which I normally do, is text the person and ask, "Hey, do you have any other books like that? Because I'm interested. I need to go back and do that." I gave him five stars.
Oh, I had this Captain America Comics #1 that's been sitting around. Speaking of which, I got this at NeoCon. I didn't know I was missing this until I saw it, and I went into wink wink the Wacom app, and I looked at my Captain America collection. It's Captain America 180, first appearance of Cap as Nomad.
Really? You don't have that?
I don't have it. I thought I had like a 9.2 or something. I don't have it. So I got this and I got home. It looked good through the bag, bad con etiquette again. I did not take it out and look at it. I took it out when I got home. I think after a press, that's going to be a 9496.
Nice.
It's really, really nice. What else do you get?
Let's see. Oh, a book that has been on my radar for quite some time, and I just never come across it. And that is, at least I've never come across in the price that I'm willing to pay. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. This is the 5th print. And this came from a collection. The dealer had just got a brand new collection in, and a lot of these books are just minty. This book is tough because of that black spine, but there are no ticks on this book. I'm going to give it a cursory press just because there's a little bit of waviness in it. But other than that, this is going to be a great book. I'm a huge Turtles fan, and I always wanted a 5th print. So thank you very much, dealer, for having that available.
When Richard and I got to NeoCon, we actually had to be there the day before on Saturday to help set up the booth. And, other dealers are there, they're setting up. And I don't know, it was the first time I had gone to a convention like that as an exhibitor. So I didn't know what the etiquette was. If it's like, should you bug people when they're setting up? And I saw other people doing it and talking. So Richard and I are like, okay, we're being overly polite. Let's go walk around and look at these other dealers. Boy, what a revelation, would you say?
It is. It's amazing. These dealers were trading amongst themselves. I mean, they were buying other people's stock. We were sitting at the Waku booth. We were finishing setting it up, and we look over, and there are 6 to 8 dealers all pawing through one dealer's boxes.
Yeah.
And that's the collection I was talking about.
That's where I got that Cap 180, first Nomad. But there was another guy. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say he had books, $5 books that are just amazing condition. And I bought a stack this big because, the prices were you couldn't beat. And so now for the first day of the show, that box is cherry picked from
I know. So if you guys wonder why sometimes you don't find things when you go to a convention, that's why. There was another dealer that was kind of, by himself with his buddy, and no one was bugging him. He had a bunch of 1950s books, some Golden Age, and a bunch of men's magazines. And Richard and I start talking to the two of them. We have a good conversation, and we're like, "Do you mind if we go through your boxes?" He's like, "That's what they're there for. Go ahead, youngster." Even though he's probably 10 years older than me. And you would not believe what I found in this box. Again, very John books. I don't expect anybody else to get excited except for me. But I found two four colors, Dell four colors. There is Dell four color number 785, the first appearance of Crusader Rabbit.
Oh, okay.
For those of you who don't know who Crusader Rabbit is, it was the first animated television show made specifically for TV. Because, in the early 50s, they were just repurposed theatrical shorts, but this was made specifically for TV. And he also had four color 805, which is the second and last Crusader Rabbit. And I had to get those. Those were so me. And then the big find for me at his booth was a copy of Journey into Unknown Worlds number 37, which is actually the second issue. Beautiful, classic Bill Everett, worlds colliding cover, very similar to what was going on in Venus at the same time from Atlas and Timely. And I had to make an offer. It's really, there's a bad spine roll on it. I think I'm going to try it. I wasn't too much out of pocket on this one, so I think I'm going to experiment trying to fix that spine roll. If you're following us on Instagram, I'll post some before and after pictures, and you guys can follow along the journey to try to repair that book. What else you got?
Speaking of Venus, this is a $5 book, and this is in gorgeous condition. It's probably 9.2. This is Submariner number 57.
Oh yeah, we compared those on the live stream because I bought one too.
Yeah, so this is absolutely gorgeous. First Venus since Golden Age, and she's there on the cover, and it's a great book. I also in the $5 pile got books like G.I. Joe 21 or 2026. I'm sorry, which is a Snake Eyes origin. Daredevil 10 for $5. Yeah, Daredevil 10 for $5. I have no idea. And then a bunch of Cap books. This is after John's heart. Here's Cap with his machine gun.
Classic.
Black cover, gorgeous. Cap and Iron Man.
That's the homage to the Daredevil cover where it's Daredevil versus Cap.
Right. And finally, I've got a nice Cap and Bucky.
Let's call him Battlestar.
But books like that, they're great. They're really, really good condition. And I just couldn't pass them by.
No. Shout out to our mutual friend Forrest, aka DD Comics Fan on Instagram. He was traveling and he stopped in at Mile High Comics in Chuck Rosansky's shop in Denver. And he knew this was on my want list. He pulled it for me, and I am grateful. It is Bugs Bunny's Vacation Funnies number 8. And the reason I wanted this is this book is the first appearance in comics for, if I can find it here real quick, there it is. First appearance of Roadrunner.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I've been wanting this for a while. It's been on my checklist. Good one because there's lots of puzzles in here, lots of games to cut out. There's even a little cutout Bugs Bunny on the back. Nothing is filled out. Nothing is snipped out. So it's very complete. Again, it's got a bit of a spine roll, a stacking curl that I'm going to try to repair. It's a huge, thick 100-pager. So I actually might make a video on how to handle those big, thick, square-bound books when you're pressing them. Anything else?
Yeah. Another book that I've always wanted and never actually found a copy that I wanted to pay for is Batman Adventures Mad Love. When it comes to Harley Quinn, you think of Batman Adventures number 12, but this is also an early appearance of Harlequin. And this, again, it's a black cover. This book is in great shape. I did not pay $5 for this book, but I'm going to most likely get this slab.
Are you in a Bruce Timm collecting?
I am. I'm always looking for good Bruce Timm. Speaking of Bruce Timm, here's Supergirl Adventures. I just love his art. It's simple, clean line, just like Dan Parent. I like those simple, clean lines.
Jaime Hernandez.
Jaime Hernandez, absolutely. Yeah. That's my ballpark.
All right. Well, it looks like we spent a lot of money. Got a lot of deals. But we'll have more show and tell in future weeks. But first, it's time for everyone's favorite feature, Viewer Mail.
You've got mail.
My first piece of viewer mail, Richard, comes to our email at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com from John Yu, who writes, "Hi, John and Richard. Hello from Maine." Oh, I think it might be our first viewer mail from Maine. Been watching your show since you started back in the COVID days, and my husband and I look forward to it every week. I need some expert advice on a bag and board issue. Some boards come with one side having a smooth treated glossy side, and the reverse side is rough and flat. Which side should the comic book be touching? I always use the shiny side. I figured it was meant to be used, or there wouldn't be a shiny and a non-shiny side. The internet seems divided, and there are several cases for both sides. For example, some say in the long run, the glossy side will cause the back of the comic to wear out, kind of like it took silly putty on a newspaper to peel back. You'll get the imprint of the newspaper on the putty. For the rough side, I find it odd that they would make the duller, rougher side the side you put against the book. Why make a glossy side at all? On either side, is there a difference in acid-free treatment? Well, John, I can start from the end and work our way back. Fullbacks, halfbacks, especially now with supply chain issues, you're going to see a cardboardy brown side and a white side. Guess what? That's for a reason. The white side goes against your book. Same thing with backing boards. Glossy side goes against your book. Transfer can happen either way. Transfer is more about humidity, poor storage, etc. Glossy faces your book. It gives it a nice little, there you go. Richard?
You want to explain fullback and halfback boards?
Sure. Yeah. Halfback, a fullback is a thick board. It is a full backing board. A halfback is cut to half the size of a fullback. It is a halfback. That's the terminology there.
Whenever I do a high value book, I try to use fullbacks because it gives more stiffness, especially if you put it in Mylar. It gives much more stiffness and it looks better. Unfortunately, John mentions the supply chain right now. It's difficult to find fullbacks.
I'm going to give you all secret. I just ordered Golden Age fullbacks today from Amazon. They have 8 left. So this is Monday when this airs. Richard, are you going to buy them all?
I'm just buying. I don't have enough Golden Age to need more than one box, one container, but I will buy some. No, I agree with you completely. The glossy side is there, in my opinion, to give a less rough surface for the comic to move, because all comics move slightly in the bag. So the glossy side is there to protect from rubs because of that glossy side. I don't really know why you would ever put the rough side. I mean, that's, you do you. It's your collection. You do what you think is best. Me personally, I always put the glossy side against the back of the book.
There may not be a true reason to do it. Just, I'm with you, John. I think they make the glossy side glossy for a reason.
And the book comes out,
Yeah. What do you have? What's your first piece of viewer mail?
My first piece for viewer mail is from the bronzeandmoderngods.com website, from the contact form. And the message is, "Hi, John and Richard." Oh, it's from Manny Galang. "Hi, John and Richard. I'm really enjoying the show, especially the information on obscure comics that fascinate an old-time reader like myself. I've been binging on all the episodes I miss while working and expect to complete watching all of your episodes in a week or 2. We apologize in advance for the early episodes." My question is for Richard. Since you're a huge Miles Morales Spider-Man fan and have all the U.S. variants of Ultimate Fallout 4, have you also collected all the foreign variants other than the La Mole variant from Mexico? A quick Google search result revealed there are variants from at least Spain, Italy, Russia, Turkey, and France, if not other countries as well. Keep them coming, guys. Manny. You know what? No, I do have the La Mole. That's thanks to John. But no, I don't have the foreign, and it's not because I don't want them. I just don't have much exposure to the foreign books. Other than I see the Italian books on eBay all the time, especially the 1 in 25 variant. It's a very popular substitute for the from the American version. It brings a premium for that Italian variant because they look very, very similar. If it wasn't for a slight change in the barcode, it would be difficult to tell them apart, and the fact that it's in Italian at the top of the book. But I have not seen a Turkish or France version. I think might have seen Russian and just wasn't available. So if you have a good source for foreign variants, I would be interested in hearing it because I would definitely like to get the foreign variants for that book.
There's a Facebook group, a foreign comics Facebook group that I'm part of, but I haven't seen a lot of Miles. But I'm sure they're out there. Hit Richard up if you know where to go. My next piece of viewer mail is from Xbox Gamer 3389, who writes, "Excellent show. Thank you. I have 2 questions. I'm looking to get into Peanuts comics. My mom loves the series and passed it on to me, but I'm wondering if Peanuts #1 in the Dell 4-color run is a good starting point, or should I go for a tip-top Peanuts cover?" Let me answer that one first. Go for the 4-color because I don't have my tip-top 173 yet, so stay out of my way. No. The serious answer is the 4 colors are a great place to start. If you have the cash, you can spring for the tip top 173. Peanuts are not on the cover. You have to go a few more issues in if you want Peanuts on the cover. Peanuts #1, the United Features Syndicate, that I got from Peanuts Gary. That one's just, it's so out of reach now. If I hadn't gotten such a good deal on it, I wouldn't have gotten it. So absolutely, 4-color Peanuts, probably the place to start. Question #2. I've recently been having trouble getting what I request from the local comic shop with the pool box. I asked for Batman 900 and they messaged me they'll see what they can do, and none of the extra copies made it into my box. Same with Battle Chasers 10, the Campbell cover. Got the Gwen Shadow Clones, a book I wasn't reading. I'm not sure if orders are busy. I don't want to pester them with reminders and questions about why a book isn't pulled, but I'm wondering, is there a way to keep track of a pull list, like maybe an app, to show my pool reading list so I can show it where I go, and if it's missing, they can double check to make sure it's available going forward. Xbox Gamer, I assume you're referring to Diamond Comics Distribution's pull box account. You should have a record when you have your account. Just go to your account and see all the books you've ordered. It sounds like you have a crappy comic shop, frankly.
Yeah, I'm very, very surprised that you're having that much trouble with the pull list. That to me is the reason why you have a comic book shop, is to offer that kind of service to your readers. So what I would recommend is frankly, going online for new books and sites like TFAW, Things from Another World, TFAW.com. You can set up pull lists there. You can set up pull lists on titles. So if you want to get all the Miles Morales books regardless, they will automatically pull them and ship them to you without any hassle. You can adjust the pull list as you want. And I subscribe through them, and I never missed a book. I never had a problem with books not being available to me.
Xbox Gamer, if the issue is you're going on to Pullbox and you're ordering books and your retailer is not putting them aside for you, that's on them. You can do a couple things. You can print out your orders and leave it with them and show them that you actually ordered this stuff. Make sure you're not missing the order date. That might be an issue too. If you miss the pre-order date, that may be why you're not getting your books in time. Also, plug for our sponsor. The Wacom app shows you what's coming up in the feed that's based on you. The algorithm looks at what you have in there. And so you can also take that and show them. So let us know how that goes. I'm curious if you have a crappy comic shop or not. Richard, you're up.
My next piece of viewer mail came from our YouTube feed, and it's from Timothy Markin 4481.
Friend of the show.
Yep. I smile when you said nobody is saying I have to finish my run of adventure comics. After 2 years of filling in missing issues, I now own Adventure Comics 240 through 503 with a color facsimile of 247. That's understandable. I went with mid to lower grades on the 10-cent Superboy issues, what I could afford. Some of them had split spines, etc. That's also perfectly fine. It's a really fun time to go through them and just look at the covers. Yes, someone is out there collecting adventure comics. Timothy did not, we did not mean to offend. I think it's awesome that you finished your run. That I love having goals like that. It's nice that it's an adventure comics run, which means, some of them are expensive. I'm sure there are some key issues, but a lot of the books are reasonable. And it's just to me, it's especially the 60s is a fun run for the books. So congratulations on finishing your run. And what you're going to do next? Are you going to go for action? You're going to go for Superman? You're going to go
Challengers of the Unknown.
Let's just go really expensive. So, yeah. So let us know what your next goal is going to be.
Timothy, I'm having this reaction to your piece of viewer mail because you are far from alone. I was the one that made that comment. I'll own it. And plenty of you came at me in the comments. I'm collecting adventure comics. What do you mean? And it's just a lesson for me that everybody, there's a comic out there for everyone. I collect adventure, but specific, like Dial H for Hero and the Starman run and stuff like that. So,
I'm the Legion guy. So
they do clog up the back issue bins, though. Come on, let's be honest. Hey, my next piece of viewer mail is from bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com from Holden Humphreys. Howdy. First of all, I know it was a while back, but I really enjoyed the Jim Shooter interview. Awesome. Outstanding job, and anyone who has not seen that video yet should rectify that right away. I agree. I'm biased, though. My question, our daughter is moving out into a house across the street, and we will be converting her old bedroom into a craft area for my wife. She recently told me that she was interested in getting a machine that prints graphics on t-shirts for the craft room. I casually mentioned that there are t-shirt presses that can also be used to press comic books, and if we got one of those kind of presses, we could both use it. She loved the idea. What is your recommendation for a press that works well for pressing both comics and t-shirts? It would need to be easy to use for both my wife and me, and hopefully not cost too much. Thanks, Holden Humphreys, Arlington, Texas. Holden, if you look in the description of the podcast here or the YouTube video, you will see a link to pressing supplies, and one of those is to the Tussie Press that can be used for t-shirts and for books. It's great. It is a bit of a workhorse. I love it. Richard, do you have a Tussie?
I do. I have one.
Yeah, you use it for moderns, right?
I do.
Okay, so it's cheap. I think it was under $200, right?
Right. Yeah, it's a great press. I would though. I prefer personally the seal press,
but that's for photography. That's not for t-shirts, though.
But I bought mine from a t-shirt shop that was using it to do t-shirts. So I think it's multi-purpose, to be honest with you. And you could get a seal. The one that I bought was $200. I got it off of Craigslist, and it's been a workhorse. The thing doesn't have any parts to it to break. I mean, it's basically a heating element and a knob at the top to adjust the pressure. But it's great. I mean, it's nice, even to hit temperature, and I think it would work for both t-shirts and for comic books. But the Tussie Press, if you're looking for something for brand new, the nice thing about the Tussie Press, it has a digital temperature adjustment so that you can set it specifically what you want. The seal has an analog temperature gauge, and so it's more. There's more of
a learning curve on the seal, I think, too.
Yeah, I still prefer my seal.
I love my seal. It's a tank, but I wouldn't recommend it to someone new because the Tussie has a timer. The temperature is easy to manage and work with. The seal is also tough to find. And you and I got really lucky because we got them early. I got mine off Craigslist for $150, and it's probably the best $150 I ever spent in this hobby.
Yep.
But that was in 2010.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think the Tussie is an excellent device, and they make it in different sizes. You're going to want to gauge which is the best size that you want. But it's a great device, and the best thing is it's brand new. So it has a warranty and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I agree with John. The Tussie is a better choice for a first time press. But if you need a second press,
Yeah. Speaking of items in the description and t-shirts, we've had several people ask us where they can get Bronze and Modern Gods t-shirts in the comments. And if you look in every video and every description, one of the first things in there is a link to buy t-shirts and merch. So go nuts, look in the description, and you can get t-shirts. Richard, what is your last piece of your mail?
my last piece, I've got a little show and tell to go along with this. This is from the Bronze and Modern God at gmail.com. This is from Brian B. Hi, John and Richard. What are your thoughts on controversial comics from the past? Characters like Little 8-Ball from New Funnies and other stereotypical characters from that era. I had a long and somewhat heated exchange with a comic collector geek on YouTube about racist tropes in the Golden Age. I won't go into detail, but we had a civil discourse and agreed to disagree on whether the characterizations of African Americans in Golden Age books is racist. I believe they are.
This is a discussion. This is a debate.
I would like to have heard that debate.
I'd like to hear the counter.
Well, okay, we'll talk about it in a second.
Go ahead.
This extends to other races as well, of course. Japanese, anybody who's seen any of the Korean War comics can also attest to it. And I find it an interesting and popular niche in the hobby. Being an African American man, I pay attention to racial stereotypes in comics, but I also appreciate their historical value and how they give us a peek into American society and beliefs of that era, for better or worse. Sorry for the long email. Your thoughts, Brian B. Brian, thank you so much for the comment. I agree with you. Golden Age comics have a racist bias. But you have to look at the fact that racism was a part of the society in that period of time. If you look back in the 1940s, 1950s, even the 1960s, African Americans had, there's this concept of separate but equal. You had separate water fountains, you had separate areas of the bus people rode on. You didn't go to the same movie theaters. That was ingrained in the culture. Racism wasn't something that was separate you could call out. It just was a part of the fabric. And it wasn't until the 60s and the civil rights era that we as a society decided to eliminate that division and try to integrate and get rid of it. So if you try to judge comics from the 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s against our modern day sensibilities, it's difficult thing to do because absolutely it's racist to our point of view, and it was racist back then. It just wasn't something that was called out because it was a part of society. People came back. African Americans came back from the Second World War after living and fighting in France and Europe, where the racial divisions weren't as prominent as they are in the United States. And, they were living a life as the Caucasian soldiers were living there. And then they got on a boat, came across the ocean, and came back to Jim Crow and all the other things that they had to deal with. So, yes, it is definitely something that is, there is a racist slant to comics. And it's something that I accept. And it is a part of a comic book. It's a part of this understanding and not reliving the mistakes of the past. And speaking of that, there's a book that came up, and this has to do with the conversation. This book came up again. I would have like 8 books in my collection if it wasn't for John keeping an eye out for me.
Sorry. I feel like I should apologize for having you spend all your money.
Hake.com, which is an auction site, had a comic that I never ever thought I would be able to own, and it's a piece of history as much as a comic book, and it's and this is also it's the lowest grade book I've paid this much money for. It is All Negro Comics #1.
There it is.
For those who can't, if there's on the podcast, it's a 0.5 grade. It's brittle pages, but there are less than 50 copies of this book known to exist. There are 43 on the CGC census and 3 on the CBCS census. So it's a really, really rare book. Normally when it comes up, it's $22,000 for it. Ridiculous amount of money that I can't afford. But I bought this book because, one, it's a piece of history, and I feel honored to be able to be the caretaker for this piece of history. But it also shows the things that African Americans had to go through, especially comic book producers and publishers. This is the importance of All Negroes Comics #1. It is the first comic book published by a black publisher, with black writers and artists. It's a fully black created piece of comic book work. As a matter of fact, it was a 15-cent book. It has a 50-cent price tag on it, unlike the 10 cents back in, this is 1947.
It's kind of like giving Black History Month February this year.
Yeah. I just love this book. So it's #1. There was no #2 because when the publisher, when they went to produce issue #2, none of the paper sellers would sell print stock to them for a second issue. So and the thought is it was because of racism. Again, it's we can call this stuff out today because we identify it. Back then, it was a part of the fabric of what people dealt with. But I love this book because it for me, it's a testament to what someone can do, even amongst different challenges. And although issue 2 didn't come out, the fact that they produced one book, and it was the dream of this person to produce this book way back in 1947. Here we are in 2023. And this book still survives, and his dream survives. I find it very, very precious, and was thrilled to get an opportunity to buy this book.
I think it's also a statement that it took another 30 years for it to happen again with Fast Willie Jackson. It took until the 70s to have another black publisher with a black focus. It's crazy. I'm still on the whole thing of the debate that comics were not racist in the 40s. I'm bringing up something on the screen right now. This is a house ad in Timely Comics for Young Allies #1. You've got the character rundown. There's Bucky, there's Toro, Washington, Vanderbilt, Jefferson from high society, but a real guy, descriptions of all the kids. And you get to Whitewash Jones, who can make a harmonica talk and watermelons disappear.
Yeah. That's
What's the debate?
I don't. Me personally, I don't understand the debate. As an African American myself, I look at how long it took. 1962 comes around. Fantastic Four comes out. Fantastic Four is a book that was not produced for me. There are no African American characters. There are no characters besides Caucasians in that book. And that was fine. That was the way it was. And representation didn't happen until much, much later. We accept those books because that's the environment, because of the environment they were published in. And so we've got some of the old books with character, the stereotypical characterizations. And I accept them for being a piece just, you know, frozen in amber, some piece in time. Um, I but I don't see how you could not identify it as racism, and given our definition today.
Well, there it is. I'm still stunned. We'll move on because we're not getting any younger.
Yeah,
That
it's a tough conversation. This is a comic book show, right? And we talk about comic books, but we also talk about how comics affect us.
yeah,
And by us, I mean John and myself. And it is a part of things that it affects my collecting habits. And I know John has things that affect his collecting habits. So it's important to talk about, I think.
I mean, Alpha Flight 106 is one of the most embarrassing comic books ever. With North Star coming out and yelling, "Because I too am gay." Ridiculous,
Uh,
ridiculous.
I would
And
say poor North Star, but he's kind of a dick.
yeah, he's got, which is I kind of like that about his character. He's not like written like some model citizen. He must be a perfect gay guy. No, he's an asshole. Like I said, we're not getting any younger, so let's go back to 1983 for the old fart roll. Hey, you picked it. You talk about it.
Yeah, this week I picked Daredevil number 196. It's the first meeting of Daredevil and Wolverine. Wolverine's kind of the guy to talk about now. Klaus Janson on art, Denny O'Neil for the story. It's got a great cover with both Daredevil and Wolverine on it.
Let me stop you there and talk about that cover. Take a close look at Wolverine's claws on that cover. Where are they coming out from?
I don't know.
Is it just a bad angle? That's always bugged me. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to talk about how many yellow covers there are in the Daredevil run. This is a yellow back for those on podcasts, a yellow background with Daredevil in the background and Wolverine holding up this guy in the foreground. I'm Klaus Jensen is not my favorite artist.
I'm hot and cold on him.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a good book. Wolverine is on the tail of Bullseye, and Daredevil joins him, so it's a nice collab issue. Kingpin is in there as well, and at the end of it, Daredevil his life is saved by Wolverine, and so we have this first meeting. It's also I don't know that I have seen this before, but there are several panels in this particular book where Wolverine has his claws extended and he's slashing at people, and there's a spray of blood that comes out.
Is it black? Is it like colored black?
No, it is not. It is not colored black. I was stunned to see, because you would never see that today.
No, well, Klaus Janson was coloring the book too, so
at least I believe it wasn't. I believe it wasn't black. I'd have to go back and look again. I was just shocked to see any expression of blood or to come out, because we're so conditioned now not to express that. Wolverine is a very violent character. I mean, to use his powers, he's making a mess, and
lay down at the first or something.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. The GPA on this book, 9.8s, are going for about 133. There's a newsstand version that goes for 400. There's a Canadian price variant for this book that is really, really rare. There's only 18 on the census right now, compared to 954 on the of the original cover. There is, or the standard cover. There is no breakout for newsstand, so we don't have a number on what the newsstand is. But I think it's pretty cool. It's a great book. Check it out.
All right. Moving on to our underrated books of the week. I can go first on this one. My underrated book this week is spoiler for people who watch the live stream on from NeoCon, because that's where I got this book. It is GRAIL number 120. This is the last issue of the long-running epic comic series. It ran exactly 10 years, 12 issues a year, 120 divided by 12, 10. Is my math right?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. It's of course, the classic Barbarian parody by Sergio Aragonés and Mark Evanier. This right here is a very tough book to find. I've been working on a GRU run for quite some time, and I've always been hesitant to pick this up because it's very expensive. And I'm like, why is that book so expensive? Well, at a low print run, 1993, estimated 40,000 copies of that, which was pretty minuscule for a book at the height of the comic boom. The 90-day GPA for this book for a CGC 9.8 is $171. That is down from the great comic boom of 2022, where it was selling
For that.
where it was selling for $265. So I saw this. I guess I can. It's a 9.8 slam dunk. When Richard was talking about being at that show the day before and people pawing through 6 dealers descending on one dealer's booth, this was that booth, and that is what I paid for it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's $50 for the people who are on the podcast. So I grabbed it. I didn't pay $50.
No, the funny thing is, all this is the day before the show. So dealers didn't care who bought their books. They really didn't. Another dealer buys it, great. That just means I'm guaranteed to sell that, come the real people coming into the show the next day.
It's very different from the early 90s when I was selling at shows in Cleveland, and people would come up to me before the show, and they were not willing to pay a fair price. It was like, I'm a dealer, so you should give it to me at wholesale. And I was like, no, you should go away. Just leave me alone. I didn't offer wholesale on this stuff, but I did make a big stack and say, if it was $200, I said, would you take 170? I'll do 180. Great. That's how it's supposed to go.
And it works that way. It worked out really well.
Yeah. What's your underrated book of the week?
My underrated book is a book that, to be honest, I did not read until thinking of it for this particular segment. It's Cerebus number 300, Aardvark Vanaheim, back in 2004. It is the last issue of Cerebus. Dave Sim, the creator, and Gerhard, who was the background artist. It's the end of their magnus opus that was Cerebus. Early on, Dave Sim said that Cerebus was only going to run 300 issues, and he kept his word to it and cut it off at that. I did not buy a copy back in the day. I picked up a copy and read it. And there's Dave Sims is an interesting gentleman. The story starts off, if anyone who doesn't know about Cerebus, he's an aardvark who is a barbarian in a Conan-like universe, and he has barbarian-like challenges, and then slowly it morphs towards a more sophisticated and complex type of story. And by the end, it had morphed again. And this issue, the last issue of the series, starts off with this long letter that talks about religion and Dave Sims' belief in God. And that concept continues throughout what is the rest of the book. There are very few words in this particular issue. There's a lot of panels where action is implied. And I'm going to spoil it for you, because if you haven't read it by now, you may not. But Cerebus, passes away at the end of this issue, and it talks about his transition, and has a very strong religious tone to it. And then at the end of the book, there is yet more conversations about religion, and also about him and his journey as a self-publisher. Aardvark Vanaheim was a publisher that he put together to do Cerebus and a couple other books that came out. He talks a bit about his relationship with Kevin Eastman And when they did the team up in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #10, which John, you remember that?
I sure do.
They colorized it and reprinted it, and he talked about the all that. So there really isn't much of a comic here, but it is insight into Dave Sim. Before I read this, some of the books he's put out recently have been difficult to read because they have an agenda and it's not comics. But after reading this, I could see the transition from the guy who wrote the funny animal story, where instead of Conan, it's this aardvark. And even then, he was serious. I mean, it was a serious book. It had a comedic angle to it, but Cerebus wasn't funny. It was the people around Cerebus that were funny. And I see Cerebus being an avatar for Dave Sim. So I was able to understand how he went from that guy to the guy who put out some of these very questionable books later on in his career. And so it was interesting. It's one of those books that if you're a completionist and you want all 300 issues, you're going to get a copy of it. Yeah, again, if you want to see the workings of Dave Sim's mind, it's an interesting book to pick up and read. There isn't much, like I said, there isn't much comics to it, but there is a lot of things to read. Not a whole lot of this book on the census. I saw one GPA, one for a book sold in the height of the comic boom in 2021. It's 9.6 sold for $50. So it's not really that much in demand. There are 116 books on the census, of which a majority of those are 9.8s and 9.6s. So yeah, if you come across this book, I definitely would pick it up because it's if you're looking interesting at the meta story behind comics as much as you are about comics themselves, it's an interesting read.
Interesting that we both picked Conan parody books for our underrated books of the week. I'd like to make people think that was planned and that we were really good, but no.
Not only that, but the last issue of Conan parody books for both.
I always joke that Richard and I can finish each other's
Sandwiches.
Hey, follow us on Bronze and Modern Gods on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods, and make it hit subscribe, help us out, download Wacom, support the show, and we will catch you next time.
Yep, we're so close to 6,000. We'd appreciate a little push to get us over that number. And until then, everybody stay safe.